Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first interview here on the VLI channel. And we have a very special guest today. It's going to be a very great first interview. This is Tim Cain, who worked on the first Fallout game, as many of you will be aware, as well as many other games. Tim, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. My name's Tim Cain. I started in the industry 44 years ago, as of next week. And yeah, I worked on Fallout 1 and the first third of Fallout 2, and a lot of other games before, and a lot of other games since, and a few before. But yeah, most people know me as, someone from Fallout.
Not a bad thing to be. Not a bad thing to be.
Nope.
Fallout's great.
I love where it's been going.
Oh, yeah, me too. And so Tim has graciously agreed to do this interview, and we're going to be talking about Fallout, villains, and game development. So why don't we just get right into it with some Fallout questions? When making the first Fallout, how did you and your team decide that the Master was going to be the big bad? And during the design/planning phases of the game's development process, were there any other concepts for a main villain character in the original Fallout game before you and your team ultimately settled on the Master?
Well, I can say, and I know it disappoints a lot of people, some of the planning on Fallout was a little on the fly. So I know when we started, we did not know what the final villain was going to be. We knew the player was going to go up against super mutants, but we didn't have a clear idea what the leader would be. And that came later. And I wish I could tell you whose idea it was. But like many things in Fallout, someone may have had an idea that then someone else said, well, what if we did this instead? And then someone said, oh, what if we added this? And if I remember correctly, the Master was very much an amalgamation of a bunch of ideas from at least one of the designers I can remember, a couple artists, and someone in the sound department who really liked the idea of, since the Master was kind of a multi organism
Yeah.
with a computer thrown in for good measure
Right.
creature thing, very not like all the other super mutants. They wanted, I shouldn't even call him it, to sound different. And I think that really, really worked. The sound design in Fallout was amazing, and the voice acting was amazing. And I think the Master kind of pulled all that together. The one thing I want to be clear on is I don't think I had anything to do with the Master. I think I was so deep in both the programming and the production at that time that people would come in to talk about the Master, and I'd just be like, that sounds good. That sounds good. Okay, let's not do that, but that sounds good. And that was probably 100% of my input into that character.
Hey, well, at least you were a consultant on the Master. That counts for something, right?
Yeah, I was usually big topics like that, they'd include me because I was the buck stops here guy. Or it was weird. Some of the people on the team called me the adult in the room, even though a few of them were older than me. I'm like, I called someone out. I'm like, don't say that. You're a year older than me. But I was the person who had to say, okay, we just have to decide. We have to make a decision and move on. We can't wait any longer. And my threat was always, if you want me to decide, I'm going to pick whatever is easier for me to code. And I know several of you won't like that. So just decide what you want, or I'm going to decide what the easiest code path is, and that's what we're going to do. So that usually got impasses broken up.
Nice. I mean, responsibility has no age, so, sometimes the more responsible one might be 10 years younger than someone else. Who knows?
What was funny about it is I was also the guy who was always pushing for the humor, especially the sillier humor. And it was weird to wear that hat along with the, I don't want to say authoritarian, but I was the one who went, okay, we spent a week talking about this. Pick something right now, and we're moving forward because I have to assign programming tasks for next week. And it usually got the designers unstuck, which happens a lot in game development.
Hey, someone's got to be the one who says it's time to move on,
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
yeah, and what you said about the Master kind of forming over time, I think that's a really interesting way for stories to kind of form. When you have a general idea and then you say, well, what if this and what if that and what if this, and especially when you have a team working with you, because then you got multiple minds and multiple voices contributing to the groundwork that you've laid out, and you end up with something beautiful like Fallout and the Master. And yeah.
And I remember, since we already knew the player was going to have to take on the mutant army, I remember when it came up, well, which one would happen first? Do you take out the army and then take out the leader? I'm like, we're nonlinear. We're going to write it both ways. And that was really informative of, we wanted them, that pushed them into separate locations. We didn't want the master in the military base anymore because we wanted you to be able to take out the army and then the master, or the master and then the army.
Nice. Yeah. Fallout's really great about offering the player a choice, and it, makes for many different paths and people can take, and no one playthrough is the same,
Yeah, we didn't even call it sandbox back then. We didn't even have a word for it. We just said, once you leave the vault, you can go anywhere you want.
And it made a beautiful experience. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Fantastic. So I got a lot of questions for that. I asked some of my viewers if they had any questions for you, and this one's from Emile Dubas 6766, and he asked, Fallout has had several antagonists over the years, but what's a certain type of antagonist that hasn't been seen in the series yet that you would love to see being used, whether it's for a narrative purpose, an exploration of a certain philosophy not explored much yet, or to act as an obstacle to the player in the game's design?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to preface it with, I've said on my channel a few times that I've made a Fallout design doc.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I designed a whole other Fallout game too that wasn't what we used in Fallout 2.
Oh.
And sometimes when I get questions like this, I'm like, are you poking me? Because I won't tell anyone what's in that design doc.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even told like Leonard about what's in the design doc, Leonard Borarsky, because I'm like, if I see it show up in a Fallout game, I will know it's complete coincidence. But without going into details, the one thing I always wished was in a Fallout game was an actual good faction. Like 100% good. They're just growing food and making shelters and looking for old tech and maybe looking for old medicine. And they're really trying to help people. And what I wanted them written as is how they have to deal with all the suspicion from all the other factions and from the player. Because I don't know if it would work in this day and age where everyone will just look everything up. But I love the idea of the player suspecting that the faction's up to something or wiping them out, because I'm like, I bet that hospital is used for experimentation. And it's not. They're actually a good faction. Because almost every other faction we've seen in Fallout has either been a mix, which I like gray factions, or just pure evil. And a pure good faction, would that even work in Fallout? And because it's a kind of a challenge, it made me go, I want to see if we can do that.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, as a player too. I'd be like, there's no one good in Fallout. This can't be true, right? And then just blow up the hospital, and then, you find out a couple hours later, oh, wait, that hospital was full of patients and doctors who were trying to help them. Whoops,
Right.
That sounds like it would be very at home in a Fallout game.
I just blew up their orphanage. That would be, But the funny thing about that is Fallout kind of trains you that everything's gray. That the good side has done some bad stuff and the bad side is not quite as bad, or they think of themselves as good. So I just thought that would be an interesting thing to try to explore. I'm not even sure if it could be explored, since a theme of Fallout is power corrupts. So wouldn't whoever is in charge of this faction be a little corrupt? But it would still be interesting to try to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would work pretty well. I mean, in a lot of post-apocalyptic stories, oftentimes you find like the one good small community that's trying to make it in a world filled with just horror, So exploring that in Fallout, I think that would work pretty decently, actually. I'd love to see
Plus,
that.
I like doing that to narrative designers, of throwing out something as a challenge and saying, I've never seen this. That's what happened with dumb dialogue. I'd never seen anything like that in a video game. And I had done that in a tabletop game. And I said, can you guys pull that off? Can you write dialogue lines from a player who is severely stupid? And they rose to that challenge. So I think they could rise to this one too.
I bet they could. Yeah, it would turn into something great, I think. So the next question is from Snail OXD, and he said, how has the evolution of the Fallout franchise measured up to your vision of Fallout when you first started? Are you pleased or disappointed? Or maybe a mixture of both.
I'm going to choose both.
There you go.
Because I know people go, oh, he's just, I've heard so many people say, how come like a lot of the original Fallout team won't say anything bad about this? I will say, to be completely fair, Bethesda took what was a tiny IP that had sold okay for back then, and they turned it into this huge franchise. So along the way, they must be doing something right. Um, I joke with Leonard that they embiggened the whole Fallout universe because we're huge Simpsons fans. Um, on the flip side, did they expand it the way I would have? No, not at all. That's okay, and that's also somewhat expected. But there are things I just would have done differently, or wouldn't have emphasized as much. And I think it's fair to say that if I had continued to work on Fallout, it would be different. I'm not even sure it would have been as big because I think they did a lot of smart choices to make it more, I don't want to say casual friendly, but a lot more people were interested in what they made than seemed to be interested in what the first two games offered.
I see.
So,
And I mean, if you don't want to say what those things are, what would you have done differently? A couple of those things.
um, I think some of the humor has been lost in the new games. One thing that I talk about, the artists on the team especially view this. Fallout was what the 50s thought the future was, not the 50s. And I think the newer games tend to way overemphasize the 50s and not this is what the 50s thought would occur. So like there were a lot of 50s elements in our designs, especially like cars and buildings and robots. It's what if you watch 50s sci-fi, it's what they thought the future would be. But Fallout's the future. It's not people having sock hops and it's hard to explain.
Sure.
It's one of those things that I'm like, the tone is off. But I shouldn't even say that. The tone isn't what the tone I would have made. But the tone of Fallout, obviously, the newer Fallouts obviously resonate with a ton of people. So that's where I usually say I would have gone something different. Humor and style would have been different in what I would have done.
I see. I get that. I mean, yeah, the newer Fallout games are definitely a bit more gritty, you know. And yeah, no, the 50s idea of the future, that makes sense. Because, yeah, in Fallout 1, you had like that opening cutscene that was very like 50s TV-esque. But aside from that, yeah, you saw like 50s robots and TV and cars and things like that. But it's the future if time culturally stopped at the 50s when the apocalypse happened. And yeah, there's 50s elements to it because that's the old world. That's where it stopped. But it's still the future. So I get that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, I mean, there's something called survivorship bias where you're seeing all the tech that survived a century later. And of course, it's going to be the big, clunky, non-transistorized stuff that survived the EMP and the heat and the weather. So there may have been some other things from the past that you might find in completely isolated places, but I kind of view a sameness, like everywhere they've gone there's a sameness to, like Boston and DC and Southern California. They all had scorpions, they all had
True.
super mutants.
Yeah.
Even I'm just not sure how widespread all of that would have been, and there was a huge opportunity to make a still Fallouty but wildly different ecosystems and problems that people faced, and that's probably what I would have explored.
Makes sense. Yeah, no. Yeah. So I guess, yeah, seeing super mutants widespread, that one seems, I suppose, a little more plausible. But scorpions, yeah, that's kind of a western desert kind of thing. I actually don't even know if there's scorpions on the East Coast.
I mean, we put them in because I've seen them, and we had a pet scorpion on the team.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. His name was Spud. He was a black emperor scorpion. He was pretty scary too.
Well, that raises another question. Was there one specific scorpion in Fallout that was Spud? Did you reserve a spot for Spud?
No, but I do know a couple animators watched me feed him. We fed him crickets, and they would watch him move and sort of as a basis for making the scorpions in the game. It was fun. It was kind of fun having a little team mascot like that.
Yeah, and they had a real life subject for their modeling. That's pretty cool. Nice. All right. So this one's from Drillbit4426, and they asked, how difficult was it to balance the dark and oppressive tone of the classic Fallout games with the humor and niche gags the franchise is known for?
Wow, that's another good question. There was always a tension
Mm-hmm.
in everything. There are the people who really like the humor and sometimes went a little too silly. And then there are people who love the dark and always really wanted to make everything so incredibly morbid that it started to borderline on this game isn't fun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about sadness and rust. Um, I would I would say there were champions on both sides. I would say I was the humor champion and Leonard Barsky was the darkness champion.
Mm-hmm.
And we started talking by the end of the game. We started talking about he called it the special sauce because we would literally be in meetings together, and I would throw out something like, "This is a little dry. Could we have a character do this, or we have some item like this here?" And similarly, Len would go, "Okay, this is starting to get borderline silly. Could the character say this instead of this?"
Mm-hmm.
And both of us kept the game from going too far in either direction. So I think that was it was a weird tightrope to
Mm-hmm.
walk, but I think we did a really good job of it in the first game.
I think you guys did too. It sounds like a nice balancing act, but I'm with you. As much as the channel has a darker tone, I'm very much into the slapstick comedy myself. So when I see stuff like that in games, I love it. But I understand you can go too far. Maybe having clown noises when you shoot someone's head off isn't proper, you know. But
Well,
it depends. You know?
I think you did a fair analysis of the master. I mean, he didn't see himself as evil.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he was actually humans did all this. Let's sweep them aside and make something better.
Right.
I mean, he actually thought that's what he was doing. So he wasn't one of these mustache twirling villains going, "I will kill everybody because that's what I do."
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that saying, and it's true a lot of the time. Everyone's the hero of their own story. Sometimes there's villains who's like, I'm definitely not the hero. I'm doing this because I want to, you know. But yeah, the master he saw a world where it had been destroyed by humans, and what were we gonna do? Leave it to humans again so they could destroy it further? No, we gotta make something new. And here's mutants. You know, let's make it a mutant world.
It's funny. I've told so many stories on my channel. My channel is pretty much, it should be about development, but it's mostly, here's Tim telling stories. Or somebody called it Uncle Tim's Story Time. And
Yeah, that's a great name for a channel.
and somebody did say, "Why you're the hero in a lot of your stories or in all of your stories?" And I said, first of all, everybody tells stories that way.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I talked to some people I worked with in the 90s and the 2000s, and I'm like, did I do anything that you were like, Tim's the bad guy here? And I made a video once called Stories from Me as a Villain, and it was 3 stories where everybody perceived me as the bad guy.
Mm.
And I threw it out there because I said, and I can tell you why I did what I did. And I think you need to think of this when other people tell you stories.
Mm-hmm.
You need to think, okay, what did they do? Maybe that wasn't so nice that they're not telling.
Yeah.
And also, all the people that they're calling the villains, were they maybe doing what they thought was best? Was money
Right.
running low? Was time running out? And what they perceived as, well, they said this horrible thing or they did this horrible thing. It's like, money was running out,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys were being goofy or goofing off or whatever. So I try to remember that sometimes when I tell stories going
Yeah.
forward.
That makes sense. I mean, in fiction, you know, there's pretty much a clear vision. Like, here's the hero, here's the bad guy. But in real life, you know, when you have maybe a negative perception of someone or their motivations, it's good to stop for a second and think: are they actually doing this because they're malicious, or are they doing it because they think they're doing the right thing here? You know. So yeah, that's a good point.
I started approaching a lot of the things happening at work with, we're all trying to make a good game, but we just don't all agree what good is.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, though, there was somebody whose actions just defied explanation. I'm like, nothing of what this person is doing is trying to make the game good. I do not understand why they're acting like this. So you occasionally do run into someone, I'm like, I have no explanation for their behavior.
Oh yeah, I get that. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the next question is from Jumping Lobster 1597. Great username. What made you and your team decide on China being the U.S.'s main adversary in the Fallout universe? And then I added this part myself, actually. Was it sort of the logical next step after the fall of the USSR, or was it something else?
Yeah, the 90s was a weird time because we'd all grown up. I don't think there was anybody on the team who was a boomer We were all early Gen Xers. So we'd grown up in elementary schools that were starting to trail off the whole here's how you protect yourself, you crawl under your desk. Like, I never had a radiation drill, but I think my older brothers and sisters did. They used to tell, like, if you get under your desk, you'll be fine from fallout, which is totally not true.
No. Duck and cover.
But even by the time, but I think before I was even 20, I think Russia was just collapsing, and the Berlin Wall had fallen, and that area seemed to be diminishing as a threat to the West. But China was and still is getting stronger, and it just seemed like it made more sense in our narrative as a villain. Now, there were all kinds of things we said, like, I still remember the day I just wrote, hey, and the U.S. would probably just annex Canada because it's just America's attic. And that I wrote it into the intro. And lately that's been an actual political discussion, and it just blows my mind that what I wrote as a joke. And sometimes I wonder that too. It's like, I don't know how much of the China narrative we were serious about. But it did seem in the 90s, in the mid to late 90s, China seemed way more likely to become a superpower in 100 years than Russia.
Well, you guys were right about that, but let's hope you guys weren't right about how the world goes. And Fallout's not a predicting the future or anything, because that's not a future that I want to see. It's fun in a game, but
I hope it's not a documentary from the future. But yeah.
All right, cool. Makes sense. And then the next question is from Anakin Ruiz 9193. Do you think Fallout represents humanity's future and past? Are we destined to always be at war? Kind of similar to what we were just talking about.
Yeah, that's kind of my thesis. I've told people my intent with Fallout was power corrupts, and because of that, mankind will break up into groups. Those groups will get power, and those powerful leaders will always push those groups into war. It's kind of like, the whole, if you look at the human history, it's kind of just repeated over and over and over. And I know it raised a bunch of hackles. People are like, no, it's about capitalism being bad. And I'm like, well, that's part of it. But our intent was, and that's why the whole opening line of Fallout is war never changes. Just the weapons change. We've been throwing rocks at each other forever. And eventually those rocks turned into, uranium bombs. But I think it's kind of the human condition. We're kind of scary monkeys, aren't we?
Yeah, I consider myself an optimist in a lot of ways as far as the future goes. I think war, it's repeated itself quite a lot throughout our history in many different ways. But war is pretty much, it comes down to our differences, right? We fight over what makes us different. You're different from me. You want this, I want that, and so we're gonna fight. And I mean, we're definitely in a very early stage, but it seems like the world, as time goes on, especially with technology and the internet and things like that, we come more and more together as time goes on, And I wonder in 500 years if we're going to be at a point where we've come closer and closer together to being, not having so many disagreements with each other. That war will probably still be there, but maybe it won't be as bad as it has been throughout the rest of our history. I'm not sure.
I hope so.
I hope so.
The irony was I was the one on the team going for humor, and I was the one who was called the optimist, especially by all the people who like the dark side of Fallout. But I was the one who said, it's war that's the central theme of this game, because I don't think we ever made a faction where there wasn't somebody in that faction who was completely corrupted and was doing bad things in the name of that faction.
Yeah, makes sense. This next question is for me. What's your favorite memory from Fallout's development, or what aspect of the game are you most proud of?
Wow, there's a lot of them. I was talking with somebody from Interplay who wasn't on the team recently. And that's one thing I love about the last couple of years. I've been talking to tons of people who I haven't talked to in decades, because they're like, they found the channel and they're like, wow, it's funny. You said a story and I was in that story. And all my favorite memories from developing Fallout are just things with the team. Funny moments, scary moments, time where we're working hard and everybody was just exhausted, but we still really liked what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different ones. There's the first pizza party we had where I literally wasn't allowed to talk to these people during office hours because the other producers were on to me and they're like, stop wasting my people's time. So I'm like, okay, at 6 p.m. there'll be 3 pizzas in the main conference room and I'll be sitting there. Come and talk to me. Instead of going home, please just come and talk to me. And I didn't realize at the time, but I think decades later, I realize now I self-selected for really passionate people. Because all the people who were just there for 9-to-5 jobs and they were there, and that's fine, by the way. I think every company needs people who just come in, put in the work, go home. But I ended up with a small group of people who were like, they really wanted to make something, and they had tons of ideas, and they were really passionate, and it wasn't expressible on the games they were assigned to. So they were coming in after hours just to talk, because nothing was going on yet. There was no project yet. In fact, the first meeting, I even said, I have 3 engines I created. There was a 3D engine, a sprite engine, and a voxel engine. I'm going to show them to you, and they're really not very good yet.
Nice.
And they weren't. They were not optimized, and they were very bad. But we referenced those when we talked about our ideas about which engine we would go forward with. And that's the stuff I remember.
Nice. Well, those some good things to remember. I mean, having a passionate team and passionate people working with you, that's going to create some great memories, Yeah. Obviously, some people, like you said, they're doing their 9-to-5, but those ones that are there, they're really trying to, create art. That's the ones you want to have on your side.
Oh yeah.
Nice, very cool. Hunter World Lore asked, "Do you ever get tired of being the Fallout guy? Obviously, it was a very big moment in your career, but do you wish that your other projects, Arcanum, TOW, VTM, got more attention, or do you still have the same passion for Fallout as you did when developing it?"
I do still get excited about Fallout, but I also get really excited about several other games.
Sure.
So I suppose I'd phrase it as I'm honored to be remembered for Fallout, and when people say you're the Fallout guy or father of Fallout, although one person did call me the grandpa of Fallout, and I'm like, that's too far.
Not yet.
Yes,
His beard might be white, but I'm no grandpa. Come on, give me
another decade.
Yeah.
And I always try to remind people it was a whole team. There's whole swaths of Fallout I can take zero credit for. I didn't write any dialogue. I only wrote the opening narration, which Ron Perlman said. And I mean, I could have written junk, and Ron Perlman would have made it sound fantastic.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But there are times where I wish some of my other games were remembered, and I even talked once. I feel like I made one D&D game, Temple of Elemental Evil, and I kind of feel like it's being forgotten because it was entirely left out of WotC put out an Art of D&D book, and it mentioned Baldur's Gate and it mentioned Doom, but it didn't mention Temple of Elemental Evil, and I was like, hey, I don't forget about these other games. I thought that was a good game. I mean, it had its faults. All of my games do. Some of them big ones, some of them directly from me. But I always say I wish we'd had more time, but I don't know a single developer who thinks games ship on time. They just ship.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, as perfect as you can try to make something, everything's going to have some kind of flaw,
Yeah.
Off the back of that question, what's the game that you are most proud of or that you wish had more attention?
Sometimes I turn that into an answer to what game has most of me in it, and that would be Arcanum. Arcanum was an interesting project because Sierra basically funded us and then left us alone. And Leonard Barsky and Jason Anderson and I basically had several months by ourselves just talking about everything we wanted in the game, and no one was saying no. So many things I wanted in the game, so many, like, not just features, but story elements, lore, just they went in with no filter. So I like to tell people, like, between Fallout and Arcanum, of all the games I've made, those are the most Tim Cain-y games. Because all my other games either had a publisher or other developers who wanted something slightly different. But everybody was on the same page for Fallout and Arcanum. We were all making the same game, and there's something empowering about that because there weren't a lot of I mean, there were arguments about details for things, but there were no arguments about, hey, we should really be making an entirely different kind of game or a different genre or a different story or different major NPCs or storylines. There were never anything about that. So probably Arcanum. If Arcanum never gets a sequel and just slips away into obscurity, I'm going to be kind of sad.
I see.
But who knows? There's, Microsoft owns all of those. Maybe they're eventually pull it out of the vault.
Maybe. Well, you know what we need to do, everyone, is after you watch this interview, you need to go watch Arcanum. All of you need to buy it, pump up those sales numbers. So Microsoft says he sees a big incentive to make a sequel. So, but yes, if you want to experience a game that has the most Tim Cain in it, go play Arcanum. Yeah. Nice. Very cool. Now we're going to move on to some villain-specific questions. What are some of your favorite characters / villains you've worked on?
Well, in Bloodlines, in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, I came on late. I came on almost 2 years after it got started. So I was on for the last year and a half. And most of what I did were the bosses.
Oh, okay.
So it was an interesting thing to come on and go, what do you guys need done? And none of our end of level, end of map bosses are done. And so I divided up. Steve Shimizu, a new programmer, took over some of them. But the one I remember doing the most was there was a character named the Sheriff, who towards the end of the game story, he just decides to take you on one-on-one, and he transforms into something. Internally, we were calling him Batman because he was a big bat, but of course that's trademarked, so I called him Man Bat.
Nice.
Which I found out later is also the name of something. But internally, he was the Sheriff, referred to as Man Bat. He turned into this giant, oversized bat. And he was just supposed to swoop down and attack the player and then swoop away again. So if you wanted to do melee, you had to do it when he swooped. Otherwise, you could range attack him. But he himself didn't have a ranged attack. And I said, well, wait a minute. We were using the Source engine, Half-Life, and Half-Life 2. And it had flying, but it also had physics models. So what we did was I created a bunch of things for him to pick up and throw at the player. Here's what models were available to me. So I'm not saying we did this for any particular reason. Prostitutes. There were a lot of prostitute models. So it'd often throw live prostitutes at you. And they'd scream and hit you and do damage. A police officer, cars. I believe there was a tanker truck, which looked absolutely ridiculous when he flew up in the air. And there's this big tanker truck hanging off of him. And then he flings it at you. But the physics engine allowed me to go, okay, what hits you with how fast was it going? I know how much it weighs. I can compute the damage. So it was really fun because if that truck hit you, you took a lot of damage. And I didn't even ask anybody. I just did it. And once I got it working for one, it was easy to swap in models.
Nice.
And a side effect of that were all the people he threw at you, they instantiate in live. And they were screaming, and because that's what they did when they had no other action available to them, they'd scream. And they'd throw them at you, and the damage would apply to them too, so almost all of them were killed when they hit you. I think once the police officer survived, and I think he started shooting me instead of Man Bat. But we just left all that in. It was emergent behavior, and it was fun, and it was different. And it just directly came out of, we're not sure what everything that Man Bat should do, but hey, the engine supports this. Let's throw it in.
That's pretty funny with the police officer. It's like he gets thrown at you, and it's like, hey, this guy must have thrown me here for a reason. Let's shoot him.
Or I just took damage from you. Yes, it was me hitting into you, but you damaged me, so I'm going to shoot you.
That's pretty cool. Nice.
It was a very strange work environment.
Sounds like a fun work environment. Sometimes strange environments are the best kind of environments.
I may have been a little sleep deprived too when I was doing that one.
Hey, fever dream video game development sounds great to me. So what do you think are the essential aspects of a villain's character that make them a great villain?
I think you talk about this a lot on your channel, and I totally agree with you. But the fact when villains aren't pure evil, that makes them better. Especially villains that think they're actually good. It's a difficult narrative challenge, and sometimes it's just the ends justify the means,
sure.
Which I guess is the underlying thing. But I love that. I like villains who they actually think they're the good guy and they can explain it to you. So because people love it. I know they make jokes about it when villains have soliloquies. They're like, "Aha! I will tell you my master plan now that I
Sure.
have you tied to the railroad tracks."
Yeah.
I love the fact that they often say, "Why are you resisting me? I'm helping people," or the world things are really bad, and they'd be better if you just let me do the thing I'm going to do. And I love villains like that, especially if while they're doing it, they can make you go, "He might be right."
Right.
One of the narrative designers at the end of Arcanum wrote the big villain, and there's a big reveal because who you're going after may not be who the villain is, but it's a 25-year-old game, so spoiler alert. He wrote a villain soliloquy for him that we put in a cinematic that was so good. His name is Chad Moore. I went to his office afterwards and went, that soliloquy makes me want to completely stop and join him because he's right. He has a reason for destroying the entire world, and he's absolutely right. And Chad was like, "Do you want me to change it?" I'm like, "No, I want to throw a line in the player's dialogue going, oh no, am I the bad guy here?" Because villains who can make you think like that are brilliant villains, way better than just one-dimensional, I'm evil, deal with it.
I agree. Villains that make you think you need to die, but wait, hey, what did you say? Wait a minute. Pure evil. So I like pure evil villains sometimes, and the only reason I like them when I see them is usually their personalities or their like persona, their appearance is really cool or bombastic. For example, my favorite villain of all time is Palpatine. And the reason is all his personality, just this evil cackling wizard who's just he's got all the answers. He's got and he's totally pure evil. But then I villains that have nuance are obviously better narratively. I like to see that more in a story because it adds a lot more to it. And the Master, I mean, is a great example. You're coming up against this mutant monstrosity who wants to turn the whole world into mutants, make it a mutant paradise, and initially you're like, well, that's horrible. That's a terrible thing. And then when you see him talking, especially like, wow, this hive mind amalgamation of people and computers, he sounds horrifying. But then he's like, hey, and especially the master race speech, which the inspirations are clear there.
Yeah.
But still, he's like, humans destroyed this world, and we don't want to put it back in their hands. So
they had their chance.
Trying to make they had their chance. We're making something new, and it's like, well, you are right. I mean, I don't really want to be a mutant, but you're not wrong.
I mean, he's even saying it's not hypothetical. Humans did ruin the world. We're not guessing anymore.
Right.
We don't think we're headed to destruction. That's behind us. And also, what you said about Palpatine is, I haven't been a huge fan of some of the newer Star Wars, but I can tell you, Andor was amazing, and the reason Andor was so good was Palpatine doesn't even appear in it.
Yeah,
he's just this off-screen. They mentioned the Emperor occasionally and some horrible stuff happening, but everybody else is just regular non-Jedi, non-Sith people just doing their best.
Yeah,
and I thought it was one of my favorite Star Wars things in decades.
Oh yeah,
I adore that show.
Definitely outside of like the books and the expanded universe, I think Andor is one of the first times, or perhaps even the first time, where a piece of Star Wars media wasn't rooted in the whole space opera thematic, where it's because that's what it was. It originally was, and you see that a lot in a lot of different Star Wars stuff. It's very dramatic, and it's these big fights and emotional scenes and stuff. But in Andor, there was a lot of intrigue and subtle details and all these different things going on that you don't really see in Star Wars. So it was really nice to see.
And I love just seeing how regular people lived. They were just, I mean, that guy who worked an administrative job and he lived with his mother. It's like, wow, this is not what I expected in a Star Wars show.
Oh yeah, because in space operas like Star Wars, the regular people, they're like a set piece to the heroes and the villains doing their big clashes. So it was nice to get a little inside look into how the world actually works in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now, let's see, where are we at now? Who are some of your favorite villains? Oh wait, no. hold on a second. We just kind of answered that. I was going to ask you, do you prefer villains who have more nuance to them or villains that are pure evil, and why? But we covered that.
Yeah.
Who are your favorite villains of all time?
Keep in mind, you're asking me of all time, which means my brain is going back a long way.
How about this? How about what are your favorite video game villains? And then what are your favorite villains outside of video games?
It's going to be hard for me to answer that last one because I tell people there was a 10-year period where I didn't do anything but make games. In the most of the 90s and the early 2000s, I would go to work almost every day and work on a game. On the weekends, I might play a game and then back at work playing a game. In fact, I joked, somebody once said to me, "What do you think of Britney Spears?" And I was not joking. I turned to him like, "Is that a new weapon in our game?" And this is during Arcanum, and his name was Jesse Reynolds, and he just looked at me and went, "Dude, get out more."
Yeah, we put a character named Brittany in the game, and here's your spear.
Yeah, or I thought maybe it's a type of, like, Brittany is part of Britain or something. It's like it's a type of spear.
A Brittany spear, like
yeah. Yeah, it's like, here's an Ethiopian dagger, here's a Brittany spear.
Nice.
I was like, I don't know, but
that's amazing.
When one summer, I think it was in either high school or early college, I spent the whole summer playing Ultima 3, and the bad guy in that, Exodus, turns out to be a computer. Again, spoiler for a 35-year-old game, so
shame on you.
Sorry, people. I thought that was brilliant because everything happening in the game, Exodus throws all these different things at you, and when you finally show up to where Exodus physically is, everything starts attacking you. Like the grass and the ground starts attacking you, and you have to fight your way across the terrain to Exodus. And then, of course, when you get to Exodus, it's like, why are you doing this? I was trying to help things, run things and make things better. More recently than that, I loved Handsome Jack in Borderlands 2.
Mm-hmm.
I know he was silly, but every time he'd call you up and he'd, needle you and make fun of you, it was brilliantly written. He had a unicorn, a diamond unicorn or something. Just the things he would say to you just made me laugh every time. I mean, I wanted to kill him, but he still made me laugh every single time we interacted.
Nice.
And then, because it's also funny, I love GLaDOS in Portal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just that whole interaction is fantastic.
Yeah, she's great. So I was actually just going to say, so as far as Handsome Jack goes, that's probably one of my most requested characters to cover from video games. And I think there's a new Borderlands something coming out soon. So I'm waiting to do that till then, but I'm probably going to be making a video on him fairly soon. And then, spoiler alert for, well, maybe, I don't know when this interview is going to come out, but I have my patrons and members pick a villain every month for me to cover, and they picked GLaDOS for this month. So that's going to be another video this month.
I'm in good company then.
Yes, you are.
But see, those last two, for me, it was humor got combined with something horrific. I mean, GLaDOS is evil. That's an evil little potato computer. But the things she says to you are so funny.
Yep.
That I admire her villainy. And also, she has a tragic backstory as well, which you slowly find out. And that's just more, it just adds to that. If villains have tragic backstories, that I think adds to their nuance. But
I agree.
Gosh, I've been racking my brain trying to think of a villain outside of games. I mean, I really do watch movies and TV shows and read books, but lately I've been into cosmic horror.
Oh, cosmic horror. Great.
Yeah, so the villain isn't something that maybe players can even do something about. I'm reading, I think it's called the Void series. It might be called the Arctic series by Adrian Tchaikovsky, who's one of my favorite new authors. I shouldn't call him a new author, but and that's just what I love about it is the cosmic horror is there's no FTL radio. There's only FTL travel. So if you even want to get information to people, you have to have a packet ship. But when you go into faster than light travel mode, it's terrifying, and people have to be put under or they go insane. And they develop these new pilots that can travel off the FTL throughways, is what they call them, and they stay awake during it. And there are a few that didn't go crazy, but they ain't normal. And the book is fascinating to me, not only because how would the humanity expand in such a universe, but one of the main characters is one of those pilots, and you're like, man, he's tragic and scary, and it's hard pressed to say who the villain in this universe is. There are bad people and there's good people, but even the good people are kind of bad. And even the worst thing in the universe, which you think is the horror, has something behind it, and you're like, that's what I love. It has all those elements I love.
Sounds like because I haven't gotten into it yet because that franchise scares me with how expansive it is. But it sounds a lot like Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, it does.
Where there's a lot of cosmic horror and there's not really any good guys. Like there's some sort of good guys, but they're not the best, you know. Have you ever played Bloodborne?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to say, if you like cosmic horror, you should give that one a shot. Cosmic/gothic horror, you know.
Well, like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, games like that, I was never very good at them. And a lot of them were very linear, which is a personal for me.
Sure.
That's why Elden Ring really made me fall for that style, because when I threw myself at a boss and I couldn't defeat them, I could go somewhere else and come back when I was better.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people were like surprised I liked Elden Ring, but I'm not that into Dark Souls. But it's mainly just the linearity portion of it to me. I think they're great games though.
Yeah. Dark Souls has some non-linearity to it because you can do certain things before other things. But usually when you do those certain things before other things, it's something harder, you know? So an Elden Ring, yeah, you have a lot more freedom to if something's really getting you stuck, you can go beef yourself up somewhere else. And yeah, I'd say Elden Ring, as much as I love Dark Souls, because that's like my second favorite game of all time, is the first one. Elden Ring kind of perfected the Dark Souls formula, I think. And so it makes sense why you prefer Elden Ring.
And visually, it's stunning.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm usually not a big graphics person. Especially, I mean, I'm full spectrum colorblind, so I know I'm seeing Elden Ring differently than everybody else. But I still thought there were times I'd be riding along on the horse and I just stop and look because it was a gorgeous vista.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, they nailed the environment.
Yeah. Beautiful game. Great bosses, great lore, great villains. It's a all-around great game. Yeah. We got a question about villains from Ed6451. Who do you think the most evil villain in video games is, and who do you think the most iconic is?
That's a really tough question because there are so many axes of evil. Like I would say, do you mean who killed the most people? Or do you mean who's the most unhinged? Or who did the worst things for no reasons? And because of that, I think the answer actually reveals more about the person answering than the villain.
Yeah.
Because I'd have a different, depending on what axis you're asking me on, I'd have lots of different answers. I mean, who's more evil, Palpatine or Darth Vader? Darth Vader certainly got his hands dirty more.
Right.
But Palpatine's probably more evil.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to video games, there are so many just non-nuanced. I'm pure evil. I'm here to be bad. I don't know.
I know it's a tough one, and the thing I do, something I do occasionally on my channel is I do these tier lists where I rank like how evil all the villains that I've covered so far are, and I have like S to D tier. And the thing I tell people with those tier lists is, yeah, this is my tier list. You know, it's probably going to be the same range. You know, most people aren't going to say Palpatine is innocent. You know, it's going to be somewhere close to my placement of them. But different people have different views on what makes someone evil or what is the worst kind of evil. So it's a nuanced question.
I do know I said to a friend of mine once, because I liked the Marvel movies, although I'm a little over. Like, I got over zombies a while ago, and now I'm kind of over superheroes. But when they did Infinity War, I remember just turning to a friend of mine afterwards and going, God, Thanos is like the most stupid, evil villain ever. He's killing off literally a huge fraction of the universe when he could be doing so many other things. He's so unimaginative. He can do anything, and his idea is, I'll just kill off half of them. Guess what? Guess how population growth works? In 50 years, you're going to have the same problem. Are you planning to sit around and snap your fingers every 50 years?
Right.
It was just, I was like, and that stupidity in my mind and unimaginativeness made him super evil. Because I found it hard to believe no one suggested something better to him, which meant he was so egotistical, he thought the snap was the best idea. It was outrageously, stupidly evil, which is an axis of evil all to itself.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the time I do remember turning to someone going, this is an evil person, because they're just so egotistically, narcissistically narrow-minded.
Yeah.
No.
Villains like that. It reminds me too. You ever seen or read Watchmen?
Yeah, I have it actually.
Oh,
it's on my it's on my bookcase.
The thing about villains like those, it's like they come up with this answer, and they're so full of themselves that they're like, it's right. I'm right. I have the answer. How could I not be right? You know, I've seen all this stuff. I've confirmed all these things myself in my head. So this is the answer. And that's like Ozymandias in Watchmen. He's supposed to be the smartest man in the world, and he found the answer that he thought was correct. So it must be correct because he's so smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're watching the new Alien Earth TV show,
I want to. Yes.
There's the CEO of one of those companies. He gives off that vibe of, I'm so smart that everything I think is correct. And it makes you go, well, that just makes you evil, because he has very smart people telling him, no, boss, I think this. And he's like, nope, don't correct me. And I'm like, okay. And that's a form of evil. Stupidity or willful ignorance is a form of evil.
It is.
Yeah. So there are too many axes. You need that question has too many axes.
I figured. But the most iconic one. Now, who do you think would be, like, if you had to think of a poster boy for video game villainy, now, would you think it would be someone really obvious like Bowser? Or do you think it would be someone else, you know?
It's funny. I almost put Bowser on my list. I told you earlier, video game villains, because I've been playing Nintendo forever.
Oh, sure.
And it's always, I was like, how many times will Princess Peach get kidnapped by Bowser? I mean, shouldn't they do something about Bowser?
Right.
Why? You know, he keeps breaking out and kidnapping the princess. But I would have to go with someone iconically, you know, mustache twirly evil, just because. Who would that be? Sephiroth?
Oh, Sephiroth's good. That would be a good one.
That's a good mustache twirly villain. There's a lot. The company in Resident Evil. Everybody
Umbrella Corp. Yeah.
Umbrella Corp. Everybody. It's like they just keep being evil over and over and over. And I'm like, okay, guys, give it a rest. And then they threw in a character. They threw in a character whose name was Timothy Cain. I'm like,
wait a minute. Who worked on this game?
They're poking at me.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Those are some good picks. Umbrella Corp, Sephiroth, probably throw Bowser in there. They can fight it out for most iconic.
Wayland Yutani can fight Umbrella Corp for most evil corp too.
Oh yeah. They'd have a good duke it out with evil there. Who's gonna win, the aliens or the people making zombies? You know?
Yeah.
Nice. Ken Tio asked, are there any villains, if you were to rewrite one or more of them today, that you change, and if so, how and why?
It's funny. I don't actually like going back to my old work and wanting to change it. I told someone I don't regret anything other than not having enough time. It's why I prefer remasters. I don't really like remakes. In fact, my biggest complaint about what's going on now in the entertainment industry is the endless remakes.
Yeah.
It's like, could we not have another Superman? Could we not have another Spider-Man? Do you really need to turn Foundation into a show? Do we not need another Alien show? It's like, there's so many other IPs out there that you could, or just original work you could do, that the last thing I ever want to do, and I'm on the record for saying I'd rather make a new IP than ever make a sequel to any of my games. So, like, even if it came up, like, would you rather make Arcanum 2 or a brand new game? Brand new game. Just because I don't want to tinker too much. with what I've already done. And if you only have a point, people can guess what else you would have done. Once you have a sequel, now they kind of see where you're going. It's why I said, Fallout 1 was here and then Fallout 2 was here. Fallout 3 may have been over here and then Fallout 4 was way over here. People are seeing that the direction changed. If I never make a sequel, I love that players can just love the world and the IP and guess what other things might be out there. It's fun to have a border and guess what's beyond it. Sometimes revealing what's beyond a border, revealing a mystery sometimes is the least interesting thing you can do.
Sure.
So I don't think I'd touch any of my old games.
Wow, that's a good answer.
I'd remaster, but not remake.
Nice. I feel the same way about remakes. The only thing for me for remakes is if something was like, I don't know, if there was a story that wasn't executed very well, and my example for this now, I love the original Highlander movie. It's very campy. It's fun. It's a fun movie, Sean Connery as the Spaniard, classic. You know what I mean? Perfect Spanish accent he had in that movie. But as fun and campy as that movie is, it's got really good bones, and I feel like it could be a great, like, dramatic, like, fully fleshed out story if it was in someone's hands. So things like that, I'm like, I wouldn't mind seeing, like, someone's a different take on something that may not have been, like, on the nose, you know what I mean? And recently they announced, what's that?
You did get sequels to Highlander.
You did. Yeah.
You got your wish, right?
Mm-hmm. A little bit. They're okay. Those are okay, I suppose.
Careful what you wish for.
I know, right? But they did announce a remake recently, and it was funny. The only reason I thought that film might deserve a remake, one, because it would probably be good in a more grittier setting. It has a nice narrative for that. But then I just had a perfect casting in mind, and I don't know if they're going to do this for this remake they're making. But it froze for a second. Sorry, I thought I lost you. The perfect casting for the Spaniard, because the Spaniard in that story is an Egyptian who ended up in Spain, and like he calls himself the Spaniard now. And I was like, who would be perfect for that role? Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
An Egyptian becoming a Spaniard, he has the look of both. He has kind of that Arab look a little bit to him, but he's also clearly a Spaniard. He's got the perfect accent. Him in that role, beautiful. So the only reason, if they did that, if the remake was the worst thing ever, but they made Antonio Banderas the Spaniard, I'd be a happy man. That's all I want to see.
As a crazy side note to that, Antonio Banderas makes a cologne, and it's actually not bad.
Oh, really?
I bought it thinking this is going to be awful. It's not bad. It's like a good as an aftershave or something, and it doesn't outstay its welcome. It has a smell and then it goes away. But I just remember thinking, not bad, Antonio Banderas.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check out Antonio Banderas' cologne then. Maybe I can buy it if they put him in the new Highlander and wear it to the premiere or something. That'd be perfect.
Well, like Star Trek did a line of colognes, and most of them are. But the Kirk one, it was called Tiberius. It is way better than it should have been for $20. Like nice. It hits above its weight class. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying it's way better than you expect from a $20 bottle of cologne.
Well, I'm gonna have to check out Antonio Banderas and Star Trek cologne. When the ladies ask me what I'm wearing, I'll say, it's Star Trek. It's Captain
Tiberius.
Kirk. That's what I got on Tiberius.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Aimless Studios 1993 asked, did you ever have an idea for a villain that didn't make the cut? If yes, who were they and why were they never included?
I did. And the coolest thing about this is I actually got to discuss it with Gary Gygax. And it was on Temple of Elemental Evil. I loved the module. I'd played it in high school. I'd read it back to front. I did it again before I made the game. And then I got an opportunity to talk to him on the phone. And I was super excited. And then he was excited because it was obvious how excited I was. And I had tons of very detailed questions for him. And he was laughing at one point. He goes, wow, you found a lot of my mistakes in that module. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to make things work. And on a computer game, you can't leave it vague. This magic sword has to have an alignment, but it's supposed to be for the paladin, but it's listed as chaotic good, and I don't know what to do here. So we talked a lot, and then I finally said, so we're putting it together, and we're making all the levels, and I never quite understood why at the Temple of Elemental Evil, with all of the elemental evil priests, The thing at the bottom is just a demon. And he went, well, that wasn't supposed to be the bottom. There was supposed to be some levels below it with a proto evil, like the universe's first evil. Like before there really was the elemental planes, there was just, light and dark and good and evil, and this was proto evil. And he talked to me about it, and I remember thinking, I want to put that in. And after the phone call, I went and talked to the lead artist, and he was like, we have zero time in the schedule for doing any. We can't make a new map. I certainly can't make a brand new creature for you. And also, we had to run everything through WotC, and they were already cutting stuff. They cut a whole bunch of stuff out of the second village, which I know people complain when they play it. There's not much to do before you get to the temple. There was a lot of cut content. But if there's one villain that I wish it had not been cut. I wish Gygax hadn't cut it from the original paper module, and I wish I could have put it in, because the way he described it, it made everything make sense. That the demon was attracted to this spot because the source, the original proto source of all evil, was here and locked away, but she was trying to get it out. Now, she thought she'd make it work for her,
Sure.
and almost certainly she would have been subsumed by it. But that whole idea too of you think this is evil, wait till we turn it up to 11. That character, that proto evil from Temple of Elemental Evil, I wish I'd had a chance to explore that.
That sounds
especially
like
with
cool.
Gygax's blessing. Yeah.
All right, great answer. The root of all evil, source of all evil type entities, characters. It's a nice component of the mystery, when they include things like that in stories. So having this demon going after this, the source of evil to enhance her evil powers, that sounds pretty damn cool to me. I wish it would have been in there too.
Yeah, what would it be like? It's not going to be some guy in a hat. Hi, I'm the source of all. It wouldn't even be a bunch of tentacles. What would it be? I mean, we were going to spend time talking about how to represent it, but didn't even get that far.
Unfortunate. That sounded really cool. Sounded like a cool idea. Now we're going to do some game development questions. So, yes. Where did you start your journey in game development, and how did you know that was what you wanted to do?
I always loved games. In fact, the joke in my family was the fourth child. I'm the fifth child. My mom and dad had 3 kids 2 years apart, and then they stopped.
Okay.
And then 6 years later, they had a fourth child, and my mom was told not to have any more children because she had arthritis. But she said, "There's 6 years is too big of a gap. I need to have one more child, so the fourth child has someone to play with." So I was literally born to be a gamer.
Nice.
And my brother Greg and I grew up playing board games and card games and stuff together, and we got an Atari VCS, that old console with the cartridges.
Yeah.
And I loved it so much that when I was 13 years old, I sent a list of game designs to Atari. And I said, there were pictures I hand drew and then design specifications that a 13-year-old thought were good. I still have them, and I have the letter they sent back to me.
That's cool.
And a check for $5 that I could use, or something, but a $5 thing I could use towards buying an Atari cartridge, which I never used. And my mom kept it because she kept all those things for us, so I have it around here somewhere. That was when I thought I want to make games, and my mom got me a computer, an Atari 800, when I was 14. I got offered a game development job at 15, but I couldn't take it because I was 15. So on my 16th birthday, I called the company, and they said, "We're still trying to fill that position." And I said, "I'll be there today." And my mom took me to the DMV, and I got my license and drove out to the game company and started on my 16th birthday. That's how I know exactly how long I've been in the industry.
Amazing. So you've pretty much always been in game development. That was your first and last job, I'm assuming.
Yeah. For good and bad, I have very little experience. I don't know how other companies work. I don't know how things work. But if it's about game development, I know a lot about how it works.
Well, I mean, I would say that's an amazing thing. I think you're living a lot of young developers' dreams, I'm sure. And that
a little focused.
What's that?
It's a little
Yeah,
hyper focused, but yeah.
which could be a very good thing. And that actually goes into my next question. What do you think is the primary thing an aspiring game developer should focus on when they first start out?
Wow, it's funny. I used to tell people you've got to learn a lot of things, but there are just so many tools and assets available out there for free. So I tell young people, for good or for bad, it's never been easier to get in the game industry to make games. And the good part of that is you can grab Unity, Unreal, or half a dozen other game engines for free. And there's tutorials on how to make them. There's free art assets, code snippets, um, just anything you want. But guess what? Everybody's doing it. So
Yeah.
back in my day, it was so hard to get in the game industry that there wasn't a lot of competition. It was harder to find a job than to compete with other people. I mean, that job that they offered me stayed open for like 4 months and they couldn't fill it. So when I called them back and said, "Hey, guess what? I'm 16." I mean, I was so excited. My birthday was like secondary to, I'm going to call a game company.
Right.
But I always tell people that's the number one question I get is, how do I get a job? And I go, make a demo. Make a demo. And I don't want to hear any complaints. I don't want to hear you're an artist. Okay, buy code. There's a ton of code out there. There's platformer code, there's puzzle code. And people go, I don't do art. There's so much art you can get. And a lot of it, some of it's free. And there's a lot of really good art that doesn't cost that much. And so I tell people the bottom line is tons of people talk about wanting to make games. Very few people do it. So stop talking and do. Just make a demo of demonstrating whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Puzzles, fun storylines, an interesting character, a cool mechanic. Just do it. And that, if you focus on that, if you can get an interview somewhere, the fact that you can show that to them, I tell people, if I have a stack of resumes and somebody walks in with a demo that they can show me, and even better, I can play,
Yeah.
top of the list. Because this person already has something that everybody else on that list didn't have.
No, that makes sense.
And I hear lots of excuses, like, I don't know, I can't, I don't have time. I think, well, you know what? I'll put you in the pile of the hundreds and thousands of other people who have excuses. And it sounds harsh, but if someone out there is willing to do it and you're not, why should I consider you?
Right.
So,
No, that makes sense. You apply for a job and you say, hey, I want to do this, and this is why I want to do this, and this is how I can do it, which is fine enough, I suppose. But if you can show them how and why you do it, and you have a product ready to go and something that they can demo to see how you're going to benefit their company and how you're going to fit into what they want to do with their games, or give them an idea that they can build on, then all the better. So, yeah, I mean, everyone's advice when going into a job interview is do something to make yourself stand out, in a game development and in any art sector, I would imagine, don't just say you stand out, show that you stand out.
and people worry, it's like, well, it won't be perfect. It's like, that's even better.
Yeah.
Seeing some homebrewed fun thing, especially if the passion comes through. It's like, well, I made this puzzle game and the animations aren't that good, but I'm like, wow, these puzzles are amazing. It's like innovative, and I've never seen anything like, especially if you can show me something I've not seen before. And I've seen a lot because Uncle Tim is old. And I tell people that. I'm like, I've seen everything. If you show me something I've never seen before, you immediately have my attention. I've never seen a character like that. I've never seen a mechanic like that. Boom, I'm riveted. So, and then I'll start asking you questions about it. I derailed more than one interview because I started asking people questions about their demo. Like, how'd you code that? What is that in? Is that C# or is that Java? And they're like, Tim, we need to move on. And I'm like, I'll talk to you at lunch. And it's I get really interested in people's stuff more than their background. It's like, here's something I did. I want to talk about what you did. That's what got me. Your channel was what, when you did the that video on the master, I'm like, whoa, it was detailed. You reminded me things about the master that I'd forgotten about.
Well, that's amazing to hear. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And that's the kind of thing I love. I love that you've done things.
Thank you.
It puts you ahead of a huge pile of other people who just talk about doing things.
That's true. That's true. And you know what? For that interview, if I was having an interview with someone like you and I had shown you a demo and you were asking a bunch of questions, in my mind, I'd be like, wow, I got this. Like he's interested in what I have to say. Like he's not even asking me questions about the job anymore. He just wants to see what I'm working on. That's amazing. So yeah, people, if you want to be in game development, get yourself a demo, make yourself a demo with something you want to do, and bring it to your next job interview, and you might be surprised that might be your best bet into getting what you want to do. Your dream job. So yeah, great advice, Tim. Thank you. And then we have a question from justabin9558. What, if anything, would you tell yourself before/during the creation process? Kind of a vague question, but I
Can I give a vague answer?
yes, you can. Yes.
Okay. So before you start, so let's say you're going to make something, whether it's an IP or a map or a new mechanic. I always approach it like this. I want to do something differently than I've seen before. So kind of what I said before, but don't do everything differently. Mm-hmm. If the player doesn't have a way to approach something and go, I get this. There's a foundation I get, but what's this? What's this wall climbing thing? What's this physics thing? What's this? Oh, this can be destroyed. These things can be destroyed and these things can't. Oh, and they can be destroyed in different ways. Oh, and it leaves different effects in the world. Once you teach me something new and I start learning all the different cool things I can do with it, and your game obviously thought of that and made it available, it all starts with that very beginning of, I'm going to do this thing. It's classic, foundational, people have seen it before, but then I'm going to do this one thing differently. Mm-hmm. It also gives you something when people go, well, what's the hook of your game? You got your hook. That's a question that people ask a lot. Why should I play your RPG? How's it different than the countless RPGs I've played before?
Yeah.
So
makes sense. Yeah. Don't reinvent the wheel, build on the wheel, in some aspects. Writing a book or something, Microsoft Word is perfectly fine. You don't need to write in red ink on tree bark. It's so sometimes sticking with the basics is a good thing, and adding your own flair to the basics it works pretty well.
Yeah.
Good advice. Now Elijah Kai asked, what was the process of choosing ideal voice actors for the roles in your games, and what would his advice be for voice actors to get connections with creatives?
Amazingly enough, I have actually never been involved in the voice acting for any of my games. Well, since I didn't write the characters, and I was already working in all my games, I was working with audio really intently on the music. I really love ambient music, and so usually whenever I had an audio director come to me and go, "Any thoughts for the music for this game?" I'd go, "Here's a stack of CDs. I want you, and here's a track listing. I would like you to listen to these tracks on these CDs, and I want my game to sound like it would belong with those tracks." And I've done that more than once with more than one audio director with varying results. But with the voice acting, since I didn't write the characters, usually I think a good rule of thumb is whoever wrote the character should be involved in everything from picking the actor to going to the voice sessions and talking to the actor about the character. That happens a lot. The voice actor shows up and goes, "Well, now, what are my motivations?" I know that's a stereotype, but they're asking, what is my character trying to do here? And we've had answers for them. And I've had narrative designers come back and say, from famous voice actors, like well-known actors, going, they complimented me because I had answers to all the questions and they really liked the writing. Mm-hmm. In fact, one voice actor once told one of my narrative designers she'd done a lot of sessions where she was like, "Oh, yeah, it's that character again. They want me to do that voice again." Mm-hmm. And this time it was like, "No, she's really nice. She doesn't know she's being mean. Mm-hmm. She's so innocent. She has no idea all this other stuff is going on." And she loved it. She loved having that direction. In my entire career, I sat out on one voice session, and that was with David Warner doing Morpheus for Fallout.
Okay.
Who was in charge of the Children of the Cathedral. Mm-hmm. And he did that. He looked at the character and went, "Oh, I'm playing evil again, aren't I?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Yes, but you're just so good at it." And he's like, I was like, "I'm thinking Time Bandits, that character here." Mm-hmm. And the voice director was like, Tim, calm down. I'll give the direction. And just then, like this voice studio, they brought in fresh baked cookies, and today was chocolate chip that day, and I was like, oh, cookies, and I got distracted, and they worked out the rest of it. But he was watching him work was amazing. And that's the closest I've ever got to ever being involved in the voice acting.
I see. But I think, you know what? We can actually also answer this question with the answer you gave about game development when making a demo. Now, a lot of voice actors do that anyway. They make a demo of their stuff. But I would say really perfecting your demo, getting what voices you can do down, your range, what different types of characters you can do, and maybe making your own character. Maybe that might be something that hey, this is a character I made, and this is a voice that I came up with, and here's what I have, and bringing that to your interviews, to stand out. Have that little extra that can make you stand out in whoever handles the voice acting in any given show or movie or video game.
Well, one thing I learned was they're allowed to do up to three different voices. So you in one session, so you usually hire them for a 4-hour block, and if you want to do 3 characters with 3 different voices, you can. And sometimes we weren't sure of, well, this is a guard, we hadn't really decided on his voice, and they're like, and sometimes it's exciting when the voice actor goes, I have an idea for a good voice, and it's like I don't know how I got here, but I'm just happy to be working for this company. And he had a perfect voice for it. So it just suddenly we had this fun character who's just a guard who's probably going to get shot. But it was a fun thing. And then we're happy because they brought something new. They're happy because this voice they've been working on, they've been spitballing, suddenly gets to go in the game. And I love when that happens, when both sides bring something and they feel kind of an ownership of it.
Yeah.
And then everything just elevates from that point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, you hear a lot of stories about actors and stuff in roles where the director or the screenwriter, the scriptwriter will write something a certain way, and then the actor will be like, "Well, what if I said it this way?" And it turns out it's even better than what they had in mind. So often this kind of ties back in what we were talking earlier about how a foundation of a story and having a team working on it and different things branching out from it. When you have another set of eyes, another set of ears, and another mind looking at something, sometimes they think of it differently than you, and you get something amazing out of that. Something you might not have thought it would have been originally, but something that you like even more now.
Well, that's what I've noticed, because I've been in the industry for so long. I've watched it get more varied, more diverse. And one of the things that comes with that is people will say something like, I remember there was a level designer, she goes, I like to hike a lot. And when she would do outdoors, she said, you always want that moment where someone comes over the hill and sees a new vista. That's what people hike for. Or they go up something and then they turn around and they're like, whoa. And she liked to put that in the outdoor maps, and I loved it.
Nice. Amazing. So. Our next question is from Georgie Brooks 121. What was the one bit of content that didn't make it in, or that you were really excited for in future games that didn't happen, that you regret didn't see the light of day? Also, which of your good characters would you like to see go full villain if they were ever revisited in later spin-offs/stories?
Okay, for the first part, and I know I've mentioned this before, it took me a long time to figure out how to get flaws in a game. Not just mechanically, but to sell it to the people on the team and publishers who always would look at me and go, why would the player want to be worse? Why? Not just you make a character with a flaw, because I've played games like that. I'm talking about while you're playing the game, something you do or some way you act, the game notices and goes, because I love reactivity of all kinds, and goes, hey, you always seem to not want to fight the robots. You just want to be scared of robots and get a penalty when you have to attack them. And in exchange, I'll give you a perk point. I don't think the way I did it in Outer Worlds was the best. I won't say any more because Outer Worlds 2.
Right.
But that was the one thing that just took me a long time to figure out. And I think needed revisiting. For the second one, a character that was good that you might want to see go full villain. What I always thought was Tandy from Fallout 1.
Oh.
She was so sweet and so innocent, and you dragged her all over the wayside, because I read people who, when they rescued her from the cons, because she always gets kidnapped, they didn't take her back to Shady Sands because she doesn't leave the party until you step foot in Shady Sands. So they went everywhere but. One of them finished the game with her. They dragged her through the military base shooting super mutants with Tandy, like, having she had a knife and maybe whatever gun they gave her. And it occurred to me, like, wouldn't it be awesome if in Fallout 2 or later Fallout, she had just been 100% villain? Like, that teenage Tandy is gone. She has seen the world. She didn't like it. And now she's going to go out and get hers. And that twist, that spin, especially if you played the first one, you're like, oh, it's sweet little Tandy, would have just been awesome. I thought it was such a missed opportunity.
That would have been great.
But,
yeah. Or maybe even in Fallout 1, you find out Tandy is the puppet master behind the master. She's the one controlling his Unity strings. It was Tandy the whole time.
She found the FEV and orchestrated this whole thing.
She's an immortal, eternal goddess in a teenage body. I don't know. Something fun with Tandy.
What was it? Agatha all along? Tandy all along.
Tandy all along. That would have been awesome.
Oh, it would have been.
Okay, and now we're actually at our last question. From Arkham Scarecrow -RJ2LE. Personally, my biggest question would be how much of an influence he'll have on future game development. Will he be more of a symbolic figure similar to James Gunn regarding Brightburn, if he'll have an advisory role, or if he'll be at the forefront in decision making? A secondary question would be whether or not his villains would be as well crafted as Mr. House and the Master, or if they'll be more simplistic, entertaining, and threatening, but not as interesting.
That's going to be a tough question to. I can tell you, when I started doing consulting and going into the design role, it was very fun because I went to several new companies and basically said, I'm not here to make a Tim Cain game. I'm here to talk to your designers to figure out how they can make the game they're trying to make. And you could tell at least the lead system designer was like, because he was worried I'd come in and go, change that and that and that. Instead, I was like, what are you trying to do here? And I jokingly referred to myself as the ghost of design past.
Nice.
Like, I'm here in your meeting to tell you all the mistakes I made. Don't do that. But guessing the future is so hard. I don't know. I mean, this is effectively saying, guess what your legacy will be, which to me is not only impossible, but it's a teeny bit pretentious.
Sure.
I just hope. I'm so glad that it's been 28 years later. Fallout's still going strong. And I remember telling the Outer Worlds team when we finished the first one, I told them, I hope this is your Fallout. And what I mean by that is I hope 25 years from now, I'm going to be in a nursing home. I won't have any teeth. I'll still be playing video games. I hope you guys still can make this game and you look back on it and you're proud of it. And I hope there's the IP is going strong and you're super proud of it, because that's kind of the legacy I like. Games I made are still being made. Games are being made in the IP. They're still being talked about. They're still relevant in a sense. And I'm like, that's kind of the best you can hope for, especially in an industry that focuses on product and not really people. People are seen as a little bit fungible in the game industry. We can replace them.
Sure.
But that's kind of the best legacy you can hope for. And I think I got that. So that I got what I wished for. It's my Highlander 2.
There you go. But to piggyback off that question, so like in 10 years, do you think you'll still be like doing the nitty gritty and coding and things like that, or would you rather see yourself in like a over the shoulder kind of, oh, that looks good, but maybe you should do that a little differently type role, you know?
For my work, I've already kind of moved to the over the shoulder thing of,
have you?
Let me read your design doc. Let me go to the brainstorming sessions. Sometimes let me go to the meetings where they do what are called strike teams, where the mechanic has been implemented or a map has been implemented or a character, and everybody goes in and plays them, and then they meet and they're like, this is what worked and this is what didn't. I love those. I pulled back from being the original designer of a mechanic or a character or a story, and I pulled back from doing code, although I still do that a lot on my own. I spin up Unity and Unreal frequently and play around with things. I call them my toys. And I've got like 5 different toys currently in development. They will never be a game. I'll never ship it. They're start out as simply as, I wonder if I can make a physics-based dice roller.
Nice.
And then that turned into a game because I'm like, hey, it's fun to roll dice, and what kind of rules can I have, and maybe I can have cards too. And I've been playing with that for a while, but I think that's what I get more into, of just doing more of my toy stuff and doing less consulting.
Sounds good.
But I don't see myself ever not playing around with games.
I would imagine not. You've been doing it since you were 16 years old. I doubt you're going to be stopping anytime soon.
I don't know what else to do. I literally don't know what else to do.
Well, it's a great thing to do, so I say keep on doing it.
I will.
But all right, that was all the questions I had for you, Tim. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, or anything we didn't touch on that you'd like to speak about?
No, that was a very comprehensive set of questions.
Well, I'm glad you thought so.
I hope I didn't go out on a limb on too many of them.
No, I
They
think you
made
did
me
great.
think of other things.
Yeah, I think the people who ask these questions are going to be very happy with your answers, and I think the people who are going to be watching this interview are going to be happy with them too. I know I learned a lot of great stuff about games, villains, and yourself from this interview, and I very much enjoyed it.
Well, I was happy to do it. It was fun.
Glad. Outer Worlds 2, that's coming out in October, right?
It is. That's why there's been a lot of busyness lately. People have no idea what about 10 to 12 weeks run up to getting a game out is all hands on deck. Everything's a lot of spinning plates.
And I know you can't talk too in depth about it, but what has been your role with Outer Worlds 2?
Design consultant.
Design consultant. There you go.
For story, for system mechanics, for some of the maps. I also lately I've just been playing it a lot. That's something I did with Outer Worlds 1. I played it over and over again with wildly different characters, and then gave feedback to the different groups about things that happened that I really thought were awesome, and then some things where I'm like, I'm not sure why this happened here. And it's been fun. It's been a super fun experience.
Nice. Well, everyone, Outer Worlds 2 is going to be coming out in October. It's a game Tim has been consulting on, and I bet it's going to be an even better experience than Outer Worlds 1 was. So look out for that soon. And, of course, Tim has his own channel here on YouTube as well. It's called Cain on Games, right? That's the name? I got it right? I'm sure? Okay, good. It's Cain on Games.
Yeah, Uncle Tim tells stories.
Uncle Tim tells stories.
Cain
Cain on Games / Uncle Tim tells stories. And if you want to learn more about Fallout, Tim, or any other game that he's worked on, or games in general, go ahead and head on over to his channel and check out some of his videos. But again, Tim, this has been great. I thank you for being here and doing this interview with me, and I had a great time. And I'm glad
Thank
you
you,
did too.
Jamal. I did. It was fun.
Good.
Thank you.
And I hope you all enjoyed watching this, the very first interview on the Viali channel, the Analyzing Evil interview. I don't know what to call it. I'm going to call it yet. But yeah, I'll be seeing you guys soon, and be sure to go and check out Tim's channel and get more content from him. I'm not sure how to close this out, but thank you again, Tim. Bye, everybody.
Bye.